Okay, what is going? I hope this mic is working. I just plugged it in like 2 seconds ago, so let me make sure I got everything working here. Okay. All right. So I think I'm good now. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And if you're watching this later, you won't be able to tell me if you can hear it or not. I've been talking about this for a while, and a lot of people have asked me about this, so I figured it would be just a little quicker if I could just throw it up here on a live video rather than doing something where I have to edit it and everything like that. So I have a format. This is not for a particular show, but rather some tapings that we were doing. So let me see if I can pull this up here. Shrink me down there. Okay. Pull this up. That bigger. Move me over. Okay. So this is a series of tapings that we were doing we did a backyard show for years and years, and then we decided we kind of wanted to finish it off a different way. So we were all getting together and kind of putting together these matches and stuff like that. The problem is it was going to be strung across a couple years because we were only going to tape like 1 to 3 matches before every show and then tape some vignettes and stuff like that. So it was confusing for most of the guys doing it, so that's why I had to write it out in advance, and I tried to color code everything. You can see here, this is an older version, so I have the people who are going to win in blue. I had what we were going to film that day in green, and everything that was in black was already filmed at that point. So I tried to color code everything to try to make it obvious so that anybody looking at these 10 pages could figure out, okay, so this is after this match, but before I wrestled this guy, so here's what my character would be thinking. That was my mindset. Nobody ever read the damn thing, but that was what I went into there thinking. So you see here, another thing in green, so that was another vignette that we had to film, which, by the way, a lot of the stuff we didn't end up filming, a lot of it had to be changed and stuff like that, as goes with any show, but if you're stretching a show across 2 years, you can pretty much guarantee yourself you're never going to see the finished product as you wrote it originally. It's never going to work that way. And so this was a match that we were gonna film that day. Now I would actually go back and edit these. So like I have here, Vin gives bad advice. This was actually a longer segment or a longer written piece. It was probably like a paragraph long, 5 sentences, something like that, giving more direction. But as I went on, as it turned to a black font, meaning we had filmed it already, I didn't need as much detail. So in order to shrink the pages, I would go back and then kind of just make a note of what the segment was. So when I'm editing, I could just go back in, look at it, and know what that segment was. So there was more notes. If you see here, like, this is about what one of those vignettes would look like. It has a couple sentences to it. And it's just a brief overview. I don't do what you hear a lot of times. WWE will. I apologize. I'm looking at the sheet as I'm talking, but WWE a lot of times will, or you hear anyway, that WWE tells the guys exactly what to say, word for word, verbatim. And obviously, we're not on that level. And I personally don't like to put words in the guys' mouths. I don't want to do that. So I just give them an outline. Here's what he's thinking, here's what's happening, and here's what needs to happen at the end of this segment. That's the kind of the way I lay it out. Good night from Trinidad and Tobago. Oh my God, that's pretty cool. I think that's the first person we've had from that area. I don't recall ever seeing that before. Pretty cool. And good night. This was another match that we were going to be filming, and there was actually times where this would be, if we had shows that were fairly close, like if we had a show at the end of September and then the beginning of November, that's considered close to me because it's only really a month apart. I know it's technically 3 months, but the end of September, September's over. You have all of October, which is 30 days, and then the beginning of November is a couple days there. So it's really 30 days approximately till your next show. So I would actually color code these. One would be red and one would be green, meaning green, we're filming this today, red, we're going to film it the next show, so I had an outline of exactly when things were going to be filmed. And that's just the way I do it. Everybody's a little bit different. And again, this is sort of a different scenario, right? Because a lot of people are not taping stuff like this in this manner. It's normally a show and then you're done, but it can be complicated when you're taping things out of order and, like I said, strung across 3 years. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because somebody who was asking about the Saturday morning show we're doing now and how we're going to be taping episodes and all that. So I don't want to show those matches and stuff like that because I don't want to put results out for a show that hasn't happened. So I figured I'd go into something that was already taped, and nobody's ever going to see these episodes. These are not going to be available to the public or anything like that, so I figured this would be fine. If you see here, I had something that was actually in purple, and that, for me, that meant that it wasn't going to be filmed any of the days we were in our physical building. This was going to be filmed off-site. On another day, we were going to meet up, independent of a wrestling show. We were going to meet up. And we were filming that at a soccer field that we used to wrestle at. So the purple just meant it was going to be a different day and a different location. You see all the different names we had on one of these shows. Vince Russo, Blue Meanie, Brooklyn Brawler, Jerry Lawler a couple times. Jerry Briscoe, Francine, Coco Beware, Magnum TA, Mick Foley, Nikita Koloff, Raven, Ricky Morton, Tatanka, Tito Santana, Tommy Dreamer, and Jim Cornette was also on that. And so this is a show that nobody's going to see, and we we had all those people appearing on this show. So I know a lot of people are going to say, well, why are you spending money on those guys when they're not going to be here? Short answer is it was the pandemic. There was nothing going on, and I was just wanting to burn money. So again, this is something that we would tape off-site, and then this thing in the green here would be filmed at the location. And here's actually, so here in the red, this is what I had planned for one of the other dates. So we would film this. Let's say this was updated in June. So this, I don't know, this would have been maybe our September show, and then maybe for November or something, we would have been taping this. And I even had, leave blank for November 7th. So I was leaving blank spots because I like the guys to come up with their own vignettes and their own ideas and their own storylines. So I wanted to have something in there that we could throw in there and let everybody kind of come up with something on their own. It lets the guys be invested in the show. It also honestly makes the show better, in my opinion, because it's not just ideas coming from one person. You have multiple people there, and they're all contributing to the show. And then I had some extra matches and stuff like that I had that were already filmed. So for this particular series, I was actually taking some matches that were filmed on other shows, repurposing them for this show. So it was vignettes and matches and stuff like that were originally filmed for something else that were never used. So I could repurpose them and put new commentary over them and use them for this project. We did a couple matches like that, not a ton of them, but most of them were new matches. So I made some notes there at the bottom there. And that's pretty much it. So that was the format I used for that particular show. Normally for a regular show, my format would look a little something like, actually I'll just go to the bottom here. Start on a new page. I always center everything, so it would be, we'll call it whatever. SummerSlam. Okay. And then it would be Nails versus Big Boss Man, because that's pretty much the only person he ever fought. And then I would put the time for the match, 8 minutes. And referee. And I leave that blank. I let whoever the senior official is decide the referees. And I'll normally we'll do it this way because I like how this looks better. And then I'll make this bold. And then I'll usually highlight who's going to win. And then I would copy that. I'm trying to move around my camera here, so just don't mind me. And these would be obviously 3 different matches, or 4 different matches. Intermission, come back, and have your different matches and your main event. So obviously this wouldn't say the same match over and over. This would be different matches. It would be whatever, Kane versus The Undertaker, all that different crap. Refs I always leave blank. The time obviously would not be 8 minutes for every match. I adjust it, and I know 8 minutes sounds short, but honestly, when you factor in entrances and getting the match going, and then the exits, anything that's 8 minutes is easily 12 to 15 minutes. So just keep that in mind. That when I say 8 minutes, I'm considering what they're actually doing by the time the bell rings to the bell rings again, if that makes sense. And then I'm always adjusting this stuff. So I know where I want to be come intermission. If it's a 4-match show and we're starting at 7 o'clock at night, we got to hit intermission by 8:10 at the latest. Then we can come back, and then if the next match after intermission goes short, and it's only, I don't know, it's 8:25 after the first match from intermission, we have 2 matches left, I'm telling the next 2 matches, hey, you got a little bit longer. So if you originally had 10 minutes, now you got 15. And then depending on what time we're at, if it's 8:40 and the main event's going out, I'm telling them, hey, you guys got at least 20 now because we want to make it till at least 9 o'clock. And then we want to be out of there by 9:15. So I don't like long shows. Everybody's got their own preference. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. Me personally, I don't like long shows, which is ironic because our next show is 10 matches, which is a nightmare. So that's pretty much it. That's how I do a format. That's how I lay it out. There's always changes and stuff like that. I always try to keep these because there's always notes and stuff that are added. Like Finnegan will go and write all the referees on it, or we'll make notes as the show goes on. We'll swap matches and stuff like that, move matches around. So I always try to keep the formats because I always think it's a cool thing to have. And I would encourage you to do that too. I know it gets cumbersome to have a ton of paper around, but you will look back on them eventually and look at some of maybe the mistakes you made or some of the good choices you made. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to come on, throw this video up. It wasn't going to be a long video or anything like that. I don't expect a ton of people to watch it, but it's one that I've been asked about before, so I wanted to get it out here. And as always, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. I always read them. So that's it for this episode. And again, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And come on, maybe another week or two.